So not only does Stephanie
And with the battery power now on, the spacewalk has officially begun. We see that happening at 6:38 a.m. Central Time, a little ahead of schedule, about 12 minutes, but that gets us started on today's historic spacewalk. You also heard Andrew Morgan there wishing the crew luck.
Designated in pouch and DCM cover closed.
Copy EV2.
And EV1 demated in pouch. DCM cover closed.
Copy for EV1. Jessica, check depress pump man ISO valve closed.
Pump man isolation valve is closed.
I'll say one more thing about the voice of Stephanie Wilson. She's a familiar voice to them, and so being outside, it's very comforting to know the person that you're talking to on the inside. You really feel, they feel probably at this point Stephanie's out there with them.
And she's been doing a lot of these spacewalks. Was I think going to do all 5 of the ones that were planned, so she's already done 2 with them.
Yep.
Copy. Take your water switches to on.
And she's no stranger to being in space, and so she has a,
water on.
I think that experience that Stephanie has is projected in her voice, and that also adds to the confidence and comfort that the spacewalkers are going to have today as they go on with their tasks.
Copy. Take temperature control valve as desired.
Once again, the spacewalk today did begin officially at 6:38 a.m. Central Time.
2 is at 6.
EV1's at 5. Hatches open on the Quest airlock. You can see the cover popped up there.
6 for EV2. Check suit P gauge 4.2 to 4.4.
And there are just a couple of steps left before we would expect to see the spacewalkers coming out of the hatch.
4.3 for EV1 and 4.4 for EV2.
Copy 4.5 and 4.4. Visors as required for day.
And Stephanie for EV1, that was 4.3. Stephanie for EV1, it was 4.3.
Copy 4.3 for EV1. Thank you, Christina. And you may take your visors as required for day.
And visors set for EV1. Copy. And that's complete.
Copy. We have all of the suit parameter data here on the ground. We have taken care of the airlock VRIV step, so we show crew lock depress complete. The hatch thermal cover is open. Christina, you may egress the airlock.
Copy. In work.
And that was the go-ahead from Stephanie Wilson for Christina Cook to begin heading out of the airlock. Again, the spacewalk has officially begun. 6:38 a.m. Central Time was the official start time. And keep an eye here on the view from coming down from the space station. We should see the spacewalkers beginning to make their way outside. Once again, this historic moment. First time that 2 women have done a spacewalk together. Tracy, as a female spacewalker, does that seem like a milestone worth marking and celebrating to you?
I think the milestone is that hopefully this will now be considered normal. It's significant in that, you know, not to overshadow the fact women have been doing spacewalks for 35 years, and we train like this every day, and so it's pretty normal, and we just hope that this is a start to that.
To inspect the load alleviating straps. EV1's on the aft external D-ring and EV2's on the forward.
Christina Cook there, the first to come out of the Quest airlock.
EV1's load alleviating strap is inspected and looks good. And EV2's load alleviating strap is and inspection.
Copy. For the safety tether config, attach EV1 yellow hook to safety tether reel on the aft external D-ring.
You'll be able to tell the two spacewalkers apart by a red stripe on Christina Cook's spacesuit. Jessica Mears will be all white. And this first task is to make sure the tethers are all in the right configuration so that they can safely make their way out. Once she's done this, Jessica Mears will be following her out of the hatch.
Copy. Attach aft safety tether green hook to EV1 red reel.
And Tracy, I think you were saying that hopefully this could kind of be considered a normal thing going forward.
Yeah, as much as it's worth celebrating the first spacewalk with an all-female team, I think many of us are looking forward to it just being normal. And I think if it signifies anything, it is to honor the women who came before us, who were skilled and qualified and didn't get the same opportunities that we have today because it is so normal.
That's
Copy, Christina. Check gate closed and reel unlocked.
That's a great sentiment. And speaking of, people paving the way, I'm sure that you see a lot of young girls as you're out speaking. Do you get the sense that a lot of people are hoping to follow in your footsteps?
You know, there is a lot of enthusiasm, and especially from the younger girls. It's starting to become more normal, and they can envision themselves in these roles and in these places. And I think that will instill confidence that will last in their formative years, and hopefully bring them their dreams to fulfillment. And if being an astronaut, a spacewalker is one of them, then I think today will be meaningful.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of well wishes from people here on the ground saying, so good to see women doing this. My daughters are watching. School children classes are watching today. So hopefully they'll be inspired by this spacewalk, by all of your work. But is there any advice that you would give somebody in that position who is hoping to follow in your footsteps?
I think the best advice I could give to anyone, especially young ladies, is to know yourself and the things that you really enjoy doing, and to keep doing those things, because that's what's going to bring out the best in you.
And I suppose that's what you did and what Christina Cook and Jessica Mears did.
I got to believe that was the main ingredient in the formula.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we are, getting started on today's spacewalk, anything that you would say, be sure and watch for this, or this will be an interesting part?
Well, as a astronaut and spacewalker myself, there's so much about what they're doing today that I think is interesting from a technical standpoint. The very task they're performing at the moment is not one that is typical. We usually go out with our safety tethers, and so the inspections aren't necessary, but inside the crew lock. So what Christina's doing right now to ensure their safety already is expending a lot of energy with her fingers in a pressurized suit. So if you can't see the details of what she's doing, but it is rather intricate and very important, and it's good that she's taken her time with that task. But one of the, I think, exciting moments, just even to watch, if not to experience, especially for Jessica, this being her first one, is when they're out on the pallet, the external pallet that holds the spare equipment that they'll be installing today. That pallet is positioned on the space station such that when they're on it, they're going to get the full view of the Earth going underneath them at a speed that is quite noticeable. They'll see it going underneath their feet.
Released our waist tether from the airlock D-ring extender.
And it will be exhilarating for them, and it'll be rather interesting if we can get a great camera view of it to see our people out there, our pink bodies breathing in their own satellites and dangling from the space station, doing some pretty important work.
Yeah, that sounds great. We don't have helmet camera views just yet, but we do hope to get those as the spacewalk gets going. And seeing Jessica Mears make not her first steps, but her first float out of the hatch there.
For your egress. Okay, and copy. I'm going forward, and I've got a waist tether down.
Copy. Jessica's egressing, 10 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Both spacewalkers, Christina Cook and Jessica Meir, now out of the Quest airlock hatch. Again, today's spacewalk officially began at 6:38 a.m. Central Time, and Jessica Meir will be carrying basically a tool bag out of the airlock with her, and once she's out, they can get started on the work for today, which is a swap out of a battery charge discharge unit that we had a problem with following a spacewalk last Friday.
Christina, I'm going to do a little translation adaptation here. Okay, copy. We'll wait for the handover to end, and Stephanie will be back with us for next step. Or maybe I'll go ahead and get this on my DOT first.
And Houston is back with you, and we're copying, and that's your call. If you'd like to place the medium ORU bag first or conduct the translation adaptation, it is up to you.
Okay, copy.
Translation adaptation is kind of a big fancy way to say getting used to moving around in space.
Yes, a very fancy way. Yeah, there's this experience they have in vacuum of space. Maneuvering in the suit is not easily mocked up here on Earth, and so this is the first time they'll experience that frictionless motion in their suit, but they're massive, and so they need to put in some effort to stop themselves, and so this is a period of time for them to understand what forces they're going to need to do the maneuvering as well as the stopping.
And that's not something that you really can practice on the ground, right?
Not at all. No, we have some facilities that are like an air hockey table. It's a precision air bearing floor that we used to use to replicate that. But nowadays we have a bungee system and a facility that suspends us, and then we're able to more effortlessly move things and react to the momentum and the mass of a unit. In addition to stopping ourselves. So we do have some ways of practicing it here.
I can see your tether if you are in a good config. Copy, thank you. And at this point, Stephanie, I will do a little translation adaptation.
Copy, Jessica. We copy the buddy checks on EV1, and would you both please give us a baseline HAP check?
For EV1, my HAP is dry. EV2, HAP is dry.
Copy, dry HAP.
Get the thermal cover while we...
Copy, dry HAPs and thermal cover and work.
So HAP checks are something that we're going to be hearing kind of on and off throughout the spacewalk. That's a periodic check that they do to make sure that there's not a lot of water in their helmet.
Or no water at all, we hope. But yeah, this is something new since the one spacewalk we had with Luca, who was inside. He's going to do the arm work for them, where we had water in the helmet. And though we don't expect to have that issue again, the HAP is a means to protect the crew if we were to experience water in the helmet.
They'll keep doing that. HAP, I think, stands for helmet
absorption pad.
Mm-hmm. And then they'll also do glove checks, looking for any cuts on their gloves. So we'll be hearing that throughout today.
And Christina, how does this bag look? I have it out so I can see it. Yep, it is out. I can see this in your vision. You definitely have some space to put it back a little bit if you wanted to do it that way, but I can keep an eye on it as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually hear a comment, but I can bet the two are thinking, or at least Jessica, this being her first time out, just how similar the environment she's in looks to the environment that we train in. There's so many similarities, with the exception of that big plump blue planet.
Yeah, and I think every handrail has another number. They know exactly where they're going ahead of time and which path they'll take.
Exactly, yeah. Stephanie will be calling out specific handrail numbers, but they've done enough preparation that they know the general direction they're going. And knowing the numbers confirmed by Stephanie just give them confidence that they're going in the right direction, especially when the sun goes down. They have helmet lights, and there's some lights on the external lights on the station that help illuminate their path. But boy, when that sun goes down, it's a much different view. So having handrail numbers called out can sometimes keep you in the straight line path you're intending.
And it looks like we will be heading into a dark portion of this orbit in the next minute, or next few minutes. And so we'll get a good first look at what that's like soon. And you mentioned that your own spacewalk, that your first one wasn't a planned one. So it's how do you get ready for that when you can't train on the ground for it ahead of time?
Well, we have, first of all, a fantastic team on the ground, so dedicated to providing as much information as we can, and then it's a matter of getting the time to absorb it, and then prioritizing for yourself what you're going to need. We have virtual reality that we can use on orbit to immerse ourselves in the environment and get familiar with it. But it's just knowing the primary goals of your task and relying a lot on your training to kick in once you're outside, and then of course the ground guiding you.
Okay, Stephanie, I think with that I'm ready to start translating.
Copy, Jessica. For Christina, translate to the APFR in the starboard CETA card, and you'll begin your SSRMS setup. And for Jessica, translate to P4. You'll temp stow the medium ORU bag on a handrail there.
And I think ED2, I will lead this translation.
And for this one, Christina leads the translation.
Okay, did we got a change? And my tether is the one that is air-led on handrail 500, so we were showing that Jessica would lead, but we'll take your words on that.
Christina, Jessica, we copy. We would like Christina to lead.
Copy. And Jessica, are you in a good position? Yeah, stand by. I'll get out of your way. Copy.
So they finished that first initial work they have to do, getting used to being in space and getting their tethers set up, and now they're getting on their way, moving to their work sites for the first task.
Yeah, there's so much work that they've done up to this point. It seems almost unfair to say they're getting started. But yeah, their first task is about to begin.
Okay, copy that.
Christina will be moving to get in place for her ride on the Canadarm2.
I believe this is the first time she's been on the arm in her fourth. This is being her fourth spacewalk. I think this is her first arm ride.
I mean, if you're going to do a spacewalk, it sounds like that is even better to do it.
Have somebody else translate
right.
you, of course. She's earned it.
And we're getting our first look here from the helmet cameras of the spacewalkers. This one's from Jessica Meir, and you'll be able to tell that it's her view during the spacewalk by the number 11 embossed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen.
Okay, and I'm showing you passing your tether without any interference there. Okay, copy. Let me know when you're clear for me to start. And I am clear for you to start. I'm about halfway up the Cebus square now.
Christina, Jessica, we copy. And just some additional words on this. Christina, you will end up waiting for Jessica to pass once you're at the P4 working the SSRMS setup. And also, Jessica, you can expect to have to cross over Christina's safety tether at the CETA card.
Okay, copy, Stephanie. And EV1 copies as well. And EV1 is on phase 1, translating port.
Copy, Christina.
EV2 also on phase 1, right behind her.
Copy.
This again is a view from Jessica Mears' helmet camera. She is making her way to begin setting up the work site at the P6 truss segment. That's the far end of the port truss on the space station. One of the furthest work sites that we send spacewalkers to.
With 5.
When she's there, she'll be picking up some handles that were pre-installed on the nickel hydrogen batteries that were going to be replaced in what would have been a spacewalk on Wednesday. This one preempted it when we had a problem with a battery charge discharge unit following the second spacewalk in the series, which took place last Friday.
And Jessica, I am Zenith on the starboard CETA cart, so when you do go by, no clearance. Okay, I'm coming up to the CETA cart now. And Jessica, width 5 is the width that is in the middle of the CETA cart on the port side. Okay, copy that. Good to know. I'm right beneath your feet, so don't move down. Copy.
Little bit of a view there of Christina Cook from Jessica Mears' helmet as they crossed paths. Mear on her way out to the P6 truss while Cook is getting ready to begin setting up the robotic arm so that she can use it to carry the large battery charge discharge unit that the spare that they'll be bringing over to P6.
Again, we are not past our, I passed our tether points. Okay, correct? Yep, they are beneath, but they are nadir of the starboard CETA cart. Copy.
So right now, Jessica is translating under the MT, the mobile transporter that holds the mobile base system that often secures the robotic arm. And in the pool, that is a dreaded place to have to translate. It's because of gravity, it makes it very difficult to be under this structure. And so, though Jessica hasn't made any comments, I think it would be very consistent with every other spacewalker's experience that it is a joy to be underneath that in space. And so she's probably thinking, this is way better than the pool.
Neutral buoyancy laboratory.
Yes.
We should probably explain what the pool is, the neutral buoyancy laboratory that you practice in.
Yes, we fondly call it the pool, but it's a gigantic training facility that holds the mock-up of the space station, and that's just how we practice spacewalking. And though we can become buoyant, neutrally buoyant in the pool, we can't take away gravity. And so
P4 handrail 5104 for SSRMS setup. And check your gauntlets in place prior to crossing the surge.
Copy. 5104 on P4, and I'll check my gauntlets.
Good read back.
Stephanie, I've reached handrail 5120, which I believe is where I'm leaving the medium ORU bag.
And that is a good location to temp stow the medium ORU bag. Also, check your gauntlets in place.
Okay, copy. My gauntlets are in place.
Copy.
in Jessica's helmet cam, you can see the glow of the horizon on Earth, and as magnificent as that is to see, it will probably not be enough to distract Jessica right now from the task she has at hand. That's how much you concentrate while you're out there. It's such a unique environment that it takes as much mental strength as it does physical strength. And
Yes, we talk a lot about how physically hard it is, but it's also, you just come back completely exhausted, I would assume.
yes, you think as hard as you can out there.
Copy, Christina.
And I see you.
Moving out of range of video downlink from the satellites for a moment or two.
Okay, and I am to Jessica. I'll stand by. Other than that, Christina, I have the bag still, but I have not taken out the GoPro yet. Do you want to kick the GoPro out? Or do you want me to? If you're in a good spot, go ahead, and if not, I'll be glad to do it. do you remember that on the right or the left side of the bag? It's on the same side as the red. You know what? I can do it since I set it up. Okay, that'll work. Good call. Okay, Stephanie, then with that, I should keep progressing outboard.
That's affirmed, Jessica. You can translate to the P6 long spacer, handrail 5312, to attach your green hook. And I have one warning and one caution if it's a good time.
Oh, sure, I'm ready for that.
The warning is for sharp edges on P6. There's a P6 sharp edge hazard, MT rail attach lug near the 2 Bravo IAA inboard radiator corner. And the one caution on P6, avoid contact with deployed and stowed radiators.
Okay, copy that.
Jessica, Christina, for your information, arm is in motion.
Copy.
Still seeing this view from Jessica Mears' helmet camera. She's again making her way to actually what would have been the work site to install the next set of new batteries if we'd been going through the regularly planned spacewalk. Instead, she'll be picking up some of the equipment there because she and Christina Cook will need it as they're moving the battery charge discharge unit around.
And Stephanie, V1, I'll copy.
Christina, I copy you now. We're in a period of RADI-COM for another 6 minutes.
The challenge coming up for these this entire team is once Christina has the arm set up and is ready for motion, she'll be talking with Luca inside, who's maneuvering the arm, and then Jessica's still going to need to be kept busy and listening for Stephanie. And so it'll be interesting for folks to listen up at how well they coordinate that communication from inside the space station to outside the space station to here inside mission control. It'll be kind of neat to watch.
Another example of how much there is to keep track of.
Absolutely. No shortage.
Please repeat your last.
Yes, my last was just updating you on my location, 5104 and 5103 handrails, and wanted to check in with you on this location for setup of the SSRMS. I believe this is where we're looking to be.
And you are correct.
And Stephanie, for EV2, I'm at 5312 working on my green hook.
Copy, Jessica. And Christina, if you are ready to work with Luca for the GCA for APFR install, I can hand you over to him.
Okay, stand by one. I'll let Jessica keep you for a minute longer while I reposition for this.
Copy that. Copy.
The APFR that you hear him talking about is the articulated portable foot restraint that Christina Cook will be using as she rides the robotic arm to the next work site. That'll allow her to have her hands free to hold the equipment.
The outboard route.
The APFR is one of those pieces of equipment that we use commonly in any spacewalk, but it's also one of the more massive things that we manipulate during a task. We do everything from retrieving it to installing it to ingressing our own feet into it, and it's one of those things that a lot of training is spent mastering that. So it's a rewarding experience when you actually get to go into space and use one, because it's been reported to be a lot easier in space than it is in training. So I bet it's a joy for them right now.
That's good to hear. I think Jessica Meir will be using one several times later in the spacewalk if there's time as a get-ahead to check out some Worksite interfaces.
I will rely on you for clearance because my views currently are do not concern me to really see the position.
Okay. In your current location, is this considered the published APFR install location?
That is correct. This is the published APFR install position.
Okay, copy that. I'm going to class. We'll go with 10 centimeters. Word the IEA, and I'm showing that zenith.
Okay, I understand the 10 centimeter station zenith.
Good, read that.
That does seem like a hard part of the coordination, the minute maneuvers with the robotic arm to get it just in the right place.
Oh, it is, and the words spoken between the EV crew member and the arm operator are really important. What we try to do is to minimize the iterations that we go through in terms of saying what we want and getting the arm in the right position. And so it's that's what is the goal for these translations, as well as the communication between the crew.
We are 40 seconds from a 20-second handover and 1 minute to sunrise.
See that? We'll go for an APFR install. That's in work.
Copy.
And I would also add that the coordination between the EV crew and the arm operators is aided by the fact that we all cross-train. And so Luca has been a spacewalker, and Christina's been an arm operator, and so they know how to speak the same language and know what each other needs, and that aids in making sure they get the positions that they want without spending a lot of time getting there.
That makes sense, and I'm sure you've driven the robotic arm as well. Is that
yes, we're
difficult?
all. It's complex because we have this sophisticated robotic arm that has 7 degrees of freedom, and the space station is enormous and complex, and we have camera views that are not very straightforward. So you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of brain power interpreting the views that you see, and cross-checking with other views to make sure that there's no obstructions and you're not going to make contact with structure. And so it is difficult. And then plus you've got a live person on the end of the arm, and that adds a level of that turns it up a notch for the arm operator.
Definitely
for sure.
Don't want to run them into anything.
Absolutely not. That's your buddy.
Moved through a period where we're not getting downlink again, but it's coming back now, and I think we should be out of that period where we're dropping in and out now.
Christina, Jessica, back with you after the handover. Jessica, we see you have the crew lock bag in sight, and you'll retrieve the 4 scoops to place those on 3 batteries and a DCSU on the IEA.
That's in work.
And those scoops are the handles that we were talking about, getting them off the nickel hydrogen batteries that were set to be replaced so that they can be used to move the new and old battery charge discharge units around. Jessica Meir will be taking them over to Christina Cook to get them installed installing some of her own as well. And Tracy, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I know that you have your own work that you need to be getting to. So any parting thoughts, advice before you head out?
I just think everyone ought to be sending some positive vibes by way of airwaves to space for these two top-notch spacewalkers. I think it's going to be a long day, and so they'll be focusing as much with their mind as with their hands, and so I think we can expect their calm to probably get a little bit less and less as the day goes on, as their brain is focused on the task.
Installed from the SSRMS with talking of 12, with pull and twist test, and I have black on black.
But I think the thing to really pay attention to is the unspoken coordination between the whole crew, especially the two that are outside. They're good friends outside of the work that they're doing, and I think it is especially meaningful to be doing something as unique and fascinating as a spacewalk, especially with someone that you know really cares about you, and that's the case with those two, Christina and Jessica. So watch for that communication that is outside the normal, and I think you'll get a sense for the camaraderie that you have outside the space station today.
All right, thanks so much for joining us. We're 43 minutes into what is planned to be a 5.5-hour spacewalk, so we should have a lot of fun left to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Brandy. It's been a pleasure.
I have Papa Papa Fox 6 set.
Copy, Christina. Those are good settings. You can perform a safety tether swap onto the SSRMS. First lock your green hook, and then relocate your yellow hook to the SSRMS Lee forward tether point.
Copy that.
As you can see, the spacewalkers and the International Space Station have moved into the daylight portion of this orbit around the Earth, currently over the Pacific Ocean, heading towards the coast of South America, or Central America rather. And this a view of Christina Cook in her spacesuit with the red stripe to differentiate her from Jessica Meir with an all-white spacesuit. And it looks like this view is coming from the space station's robotic arm, which is just within reach of Cook, so that she can get that foot restraint installed on the end of it, which she will then climb into and use to move from here to the P4 Worksite. Then she'll have a little ways to carry the battery charge discharge unit to get it out to the P6 solar array.
Now.
Jessica, say again your last.
And Stephanie, this gap spanner is really loose. I think I'm going to try to tighten it up a bit.
Jessica, we copy.
And for EV1, my green hook is locked.
Copy.
And confirm I am taking my yellow hook, the forward SRMS handrail.
That's affirmative. Relocate yellow hook to SSRMS Lee forward tether point.
Copy. Stephanie, tightens that gap spinner up quite a bit on the outboard side. I think it'll be a little bit more useful that way.
Jessica, we copy. As you're tightening or once you're complete with that, can you also give us the 180-degree turn test of the turn of the buckle so that there's 1 inch of slack?
Yes, there still is over an inch of slack.
We copy that. Thank you.
Getting our first view here from Christina Cook's helmet camera, which you will be able to tell is coming from her by the number 18 embossed in the lower right-hand corner throughout the day. And although it's a little shaky, this is a view of that foot restraint that she'll be installing there on the end of the robotic arm. She has installed, rather.
My green wheel is locked.
Copy, green wheel locked. Stow your green hook on P4 handrail 5104.
Copy, in work.
As we promised, we're going to be taking Ask NASA questions from social media throughout today's spacewalk, and we'll take advantage of a few minutes of quiet to answer a few here. First up, we have a question from Amanda asking, what's the most challenging task for Cook and Mir during their spacewalk today? Just the spacewalk itself is, as we talked about with Tracy Caldwell Dyson, really physically and mentally demanding. But as far as specific tasks, nothing that they are doing is in itself hard, but the pieces of equipment they'll be moving around are bulky, and moving around with them attached to their tethers or in their handholds or can be challenging. The main task for the spacewalk is to change out an old battery charge discharge unit that we've had a problem with for a new one that has been stored as a spare on the space station. So that'll take about 3.5 hours to get that done, and then they'll wrap up with a few get-aheads if there is time.
Green wheel's unlocked. Copy, unlocked.
Christina Cook moving through the steps to get her foot restraint set up on the robotic arm. And we also have a question from Renee.
I believe that the APSR ingress location is moved from here, so standby 1.
Renee's asking what happens during the swap of the failed power unit. Will electricity black out for the time? of the repair. And no, the space station actually has a total of 24 of these battery charged discharge units that are taking in and putting out power from the station's 4 solar arrays. So they do have plenty of power. We just do want to have the full amount of power that we can get. So we want to get this swapped out.
Copy and standby 1. I need to verify my ECFR settings.
Copy.
And Stephanie, I've got all 4 scoops in the bag, so I believe my next step is to head over to the APFR, bundle the bag, and then bring the APFR to 2 Bravo.
That's affirmative, Jessica, and you'll also change the pitch to Papa Papa.
Copy, Papa Papa.
Good readback.
View here from Jessica Mears' helmet camera. She's working through the steps of this Worksite setup with Stephanie Wilson here on the ground. She's first been retrieving some handles that will be used during today's spacewalk, moving them off of the batteries that were going to be replaced, and they'll be used on both the old battery charge discharge unit and the new one to move those around. She's also picking up a foot restraint that she'll be installing back at P6, the segment of the truss that they'll be spending the most time working at today.
Christina, we copy? And yes, please work with Luca.
Okay, Luca, I am ready when you are.
Okay, Christina, I'm going to GCA to the published APFR ingress position and then take ulterior motions from you if necessary. And it's going to be a motion towards the X station forward, about 1 meter.
Copy that and concur.
Starting motion.
Copy.
Hearing Luca Parmitano's voice added to the mix as he is driving the space station's robotic arm. We're getting this view from a camera on the robotic arm, so you see it moving away from Christina Cook there. Cook is at what we call the CETA cart. That stands for Crew Equipment and Translation Aid cart.
Copy. And Lisa, that looks like a good position. I'll give it a go for the ingress. GCA complete.
Copy, GCA complete. Brakes are on.
Copy.
Go for APFR ingress.
Copy, brakes on, go for ingress.
Once Cook is in this foot restraint on the robotic arm, it will move her to the location of that spare, the new battery charge discharge unit, where she'll be picking it up. View of another foot restraint that Jessica Meir is picking up. This was, again, going to be used in the battery swap task that had been planned for the next spacewalk, but they'll need it today, so she's going to pick it up now and move it to the P6 work site. Or this is also on P6, but a different P6 work site, so that she and Christina Cook can use it today. Seeing a lot of Ask NASA questions come in, so we'll try and answer a few while we have a quiet moment. This one from Noni, who is first of all saying good luck to the spacewalkers and then asking how heavy are the spacesuits and do they impact the astronauts? On the ground, these spacesuits would weigh about 300 pounds, so they are definitely heavy, not easy to use in gravity. A little easier, of course, in microgravity where they're able to float, but still pretty bulky and hard to maneuver in. It takes a lot to protect the astronauts from the vacuum of space, and this is basically their own personal spaceship, so it has everything they need to survive outside of the space station. So they have to be careful and be really trained in how to move around in the spacesuits. They also, as we talked about before they left the airlock, add padding inside the spacesuit to make sure they kind of stay positioned in it as is most comfortable and most helpful, so that, for instance, their hands aren't slipping out of the gloves when they bend their elbow, or they're not moving around inside their boots when they're getting into the foot restraints, as Christina Cook is here. Mr. Wilson's science class from Jones Middle School in Florence, Kentucky have a question as they are watching the spacewalk, and they are wanting to know how the astronauts train for the spacewalks. Yeah.
Copy, you've ingress and ingress aid is stowed. Nice work. Retrieve the medium ORU bag. That is temp stowed on handrail 5120 and place it on your BRT.
Oh, copy.
Christina Cook, they're reporting that she is in that foot restraint now. So she'll be getting her.
UCA for that retrieval when you're ready.
You can give me a second to set it up, and I'll go for your DCA.
Getting back to Mr. Wilson's science class question, the astronauts have a number of different ways that they train here on the ground. One of the main ones is inside the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, which is an enormous 40-foot deep swimming pool.
Copy. 20 centimeters towards your feet, station forward.
We have an enormous full-size mock-up of the space station inside the pool, so they're able to move around on it just as they do in space. But underwater isn't a perfect comparison, so we also do virtual reality training with the spacewalkers, and we have a system that puts them in a harness and uses pulleys to make it feel like they are in zero gravity, so that they can see how the tools work and how they're moving around in microgravity will feel a little better than they do in the swimming pool.
This is your 20 centimeters.
Okay, I will take an additional 20, please.
Okay, another 20. Same direction.
Yes, sir.
Steady motion.
Copy.
And there's your additional 20.
Copy. This will be good. We can call that GCA complete.
GCA complete. Next coming on.
Copy. Luca, can you confirm brakes are on?
Brakes are on, sorry.
Copy. And that was GCA complete, right? Affirm. Okay, Stephanie, I have the HFR and Papa Papa, and I'm going to get this on my BRT and bring this over to 2 Bravo And with 38, correct?
Jessica, that is all correct.
Okay, copy, in work. EDMRU bag is installed on my BRT.
Copy, Christina. When you are happy and ready for motion, you can ask Luca or give Luca a go to maneuver to the ELC1 BCDU worksite.
Copy. Luca, I am ready for motion to the BCDU worksite on ELC1.
Christina, copy. There will be first a back-off maneuver away from structure, and then it will be a joint OCAS.
Copy.
Cook there confirming that she's got everything she needs in place to begin moving on board that robotic arm that Luca Parmitano is driving.
I noticed that Jessica Face Each Other is currently behind my helmet. Deconflict that.
The brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
You can see in this view from Jessica Mears' helmet camera a good view of the mirrors that the astronauts wear on their wrist. And we actually have a question from 7th grade class in West Orange, New Jersey about why they wear those. That is a way that the crew can see the controls on their spacesuit, which are on the chest of the spacesuit. With the helmets and the bulky spacesuits themselves, they're not able to bend their necks and look down, so they use those mirrors to see the controls in them and adjust them as needed. They can do things like adjust the water in the undergarments that they wear to keep them at a comfortable temperature as they move through the day and night cycles on the International Space Station. And to help with that, those controls are actually printed backwards so that they show up correctly in the mirror. Still seeing Christina Cook there on the end of the robotic arm. It is going to be moving her to the external logistics carrier number 1. That's where the spare battery charge discharge unit is waiting for her to pick up and then carry over to first the P4 worksite, or a worksite on P4 truss. She'll get out of the off of the robotic arm there and with the help of Jessica Meir, carry the battery charge discharge unit over to P6 where they'll be installing it.
Each other has been cleared. I can confirm all the others are in a good config.
Nice work, Christina.
This is Luca. Great job on that. And I'm going to start setting up the arm for the back-off maneuver.
Copy.
Christina, we are starting motion. It will be straight back away from structure.
Copy, you ready for motion. I see good motion.
View here of Christina Cook beginning that ride to the external logistics carrier. Arm moves very slowly and carefully. And it is being driven by Space Station Commander Luca Parmitano, who is inside the space station's cupola at the controls of the arm. See the one of the space station's solar array panels coming into view in the top left-hand side of the screen. That gives you an idea of the scale of those solar arrays, which are enormous. There's 4 sets of those. This one's on the starboard side. The crew will be working on the port side for most of the spacewalk.
Christina, when it's a good time, I'll take a glove and hap check.
Copy. Check and work. For EV1 gloves, no change, dry hap.
Copy, no change, dry hap. PET is about 1 hour, 10 minutes. Limiting consumable, 7 hours, 45 minutes for EV1 battery power.
EV1 copy. EV2 copy.
Capcom Stephanie Wilson there giving the crew a status update. She mentioned we are now 1 hour and 10 minutes into today's spacewalk, the historic first for a spacewalk to be conducted by 2 women. And we do have a number of school classes watching, including Mrs. Harrison's environmental science class. They sent in a question using the hashtag AskNASA, and they want to know how long the battery that we are replacing lasted. And we're not actually replacing a battery here. It's a discharge unit for a battery, which makes sure that we get a standard level of power sent to the space station systems. But it's actually been on board the space station for about 19 years. It was first integrated on STS-97 in December of 2000. So it had a good long life, but we do have some spares on board. There are 24 of these installed on the International Space Station, one for each of the power strings.
Motion on 2.5 minute jump forecast.
Copy, and I'm ready.
Starting motion.
This is the second one that we've replaced. We had another one fail earlier this year in a similar situation after some of the new batteries were installed. So we'll be taking a look at what might be causing that before we go forward with the spacewalks that had been planned to continue replacing the old nickel hydrogen batteries with new lithium ion ones.
Christina, if it's a good time, I have one warning and two cautions for ELC1.
It's a good time. I'm ready for warnings and cautions.
The warning is to avoid contact with the payload, RRM3, due to exposed sharp edges, corners, protrusions, entrapment, pinch points, and structural damage.
Copy. We'll avoid it, and I have eyes on it.
Copy. And the two cautions: minimize contact with Z93, that's the paint or the thermal coating on the XPECA, and no vigorous body motion on ELC1.
Copy both. Okay, Stephanie, I've got a clocking of 8, black on black, and a good pull twist test.
Copy, Jessica. Double check wire ties tucked under the boot plate.
Work. I can confirm that now. Wire ties are tucked under the boot plate.
Copy. The rest of the settings are Papa Papa Fox 12.
I see Papa, Papa, Fox, and 12 is set.
Copy that. Next, install two scoops on the outboardmost BCDU. For H1 and H2, the handles will both go towards the radiator.
Great view of Jessica Cook there on the end of the robotic arm, still making her way to the external logistics carrier where the new battery charge discharge unit is awaiting. We're seeing her with the Earth in the background. The space station's currently coming up on the coast of Europe at the moment. And still have a fair amount of time left in this daylight portion of the orbit before they move into night. Meanwhile, Jessica Meir is beginning to remove those handles that she's been picking up.
We do. We have good video. Thank you.
Or rather, installing them.
Christina, DCV1, Robo1, we are ready to fly you to the publish MLI cover position. It's a manual motion, so when you're go for me to start moving, I'm ready.
Okay, Luca, I'm a go.
And it's going to be, I'm going to start motion towards the ELC.
Motion.
Good motion.
While Cook is continuing to make her way to the logistics carrier with the new battery charge discharge unit, Jessica Meir is installing two of the handles that she picked up from the old batteries onto the old battery charge discharge unit. She's then going to get a ratchet wrench ready for Cook's use a little later in the spacewalk. And then she'll be moving to the logistics carrier herself, where she'll drop off a bag and the wrench for Christina Cook to use. View here from her helmet, from Jessica Meir's helmet camera.
Christina, you are at the publish position.
Okay, copy. Let's continue motion in that direction. We'll start with another 10 centimeters for now.
Copy, another 10 centimeters into the same direction.
Agreed.
Motion.
Good motion.
That's 10 for you.
Copy. And I think we'll need another 10, and that should do it. In the same direction. I am ready.
Okay, moving another 10 centimeters in the same direction.
Agreed.
And that's your 10 centimeters.
Okay, and now that I'm here, and apologies for inching us our way there, but I've got the PGT out now of assessing reach, and I think I'll take another 10. Direction.
Copy, and please verify that your ingress head is tucked in and all the clearances are good, and I'll move you in another 10.
Okay, I can verify that. Ingress 8 is stowed. All clearances are good.
Okay, starting motion.
And good motion. And Luca, is that our 10?
Yes, you have 10 centimeters there.
Happy. Let's go ahead and call this GCA complete.
Okay, copy. GCA complete, brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
View here from Christina Cook's helmet camera. She's reporting to Luca Parmitano that she is happy where she is at the external logistics carrier.
ORU bag tether point to the aft MLI loop.
Copy and work.
And we are 10 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Stephanie, can you confirm the handle?
Short handover of satellites that send us video down from the International Space Station. Should be coming back in just a moment.
The amazing view out here sure is phenomenal.
And Jessica, the scoop handles are towards the radiator.
Copy, that's in work.
View there of Keith Johnson, who's the lead spacewalk officer, working from the ground today.
The MLI of the BCDU.
Copy, Christina. And up to you for the MLI removal steps to assess your access and whether or not you need to egress the APFR.
Okay, and I think I have good access for those bolts in the APFR.
Copy, Christina. Then let me know when you're ready for PGT setting.
I'm ready.
Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Okay, confirm Alpha 7 and not 2, counter 2.
Christina, I'm sorry. Please repeat the your PGT setting.
I wanted to verify that it was alpha 7 and not alpha 2 for these MOI bolts.
It is alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Christina Cook, they're working with Stephanie Wilson to get into the first task now that she is at the new battery charge-discharge unit. She's going to be removing some insulation cover, and to do that she will be removing 2 bolts as well as some Velcro and a couple of straps.
Copy.
View here from Cook's helmet camera as she gets started on one of those bolts.
Copy. On the nadir bolt, release, expect 15.4 to 17.9 turns.
Copy. In work. Hey, Stephanie, both of those are on, and they are handled or pointed towards the radiator. I think I'm going to do a socket lock now with the ratchet from my PGT.
That's affirmative.
And Stephanie, I have released the nadir bolt, 17 turns.
Copy. Nadir bolt released, 17 turns. Next is the zenith bolt, same settings, alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Copy. Alpha 2, counter 2 set.
Cook, they're reporting that she's got the first of 2 bolts released on the insulation, starting on the second, while Jessica Muir reports that she's got the handles that she was installing on the old battery charge-discharge unit done. And her next step will be to get a ratchet wrench prepared for Cook's use, and then begin making her way to the external logistics carrier where this old battery charge-discharge unit is.
And the bolt appears released at 14 turns.
Copy. Zenith bolt released at 14 turns.
As NASA questions are continuing to pour in, so we'll take another one now. This one coming from a 6th grade class in New Jersey. Miss Bendira asking how long this repair will take to complete. And the actual swap of the old for the new battery charge discharge unit will take about 3.5 hours, but the total length of the spacewalk today is planned to be about 5.5 hours because the crew members are also going to get a few other get-ahead tasks done. And just as another data point,
We have a good pull twist test on the socket.
Copy, Jessica. Good pull test.
The longest spacewalk that has been done was 8 hours and 56 minutes. That was in 2001 on March 11th, and actually a female spacewalker participated in it as well. That was Susan Helms during the STS-102 mission, working on space station assembly.
Place the crew lock bag on your BRT and translate back to your green hook to retrieve it.
Okay, copy. In work. And Stephanie, it looks like I'm going to need a couple more turns on that Zenith bolt, so I'll be putting a few more Using Alpha 2, clockwise 2.
Alpha 2, counter clockwise 2.
Sorry, counter. Yep, that's the firm. Thanks. Counter 2.
Copy that, and we concur with a few more turns.
Work. That did it with 4 more turns.
Copy an additional 4 turns on the zenith bolt.
Stephanie, I have to ask, where are we flying over? It's beautiful.
Christina, Jessica, we are flying over the Middle East.
View of Christina Cook here at the external logistics carrier where that the new battery charge discharge unit is, and asking the ground to confirm where they are flying over right now because it's such a good view. The answer was south of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They're also just about to move into another nighttime portion of this orbit around the Earth, so things will be getting a little darker. With crews making good time on their spacewalk task with
I've got the crew light bag on my right now. I just need to get that on my DRT, and then I'll be heading back inboard. Great.
crews making good time on their task with Christina Cook working to remove the thermal insulation cover that's been protecting the new battery charge discharge unit, and Jessica Muir getting ready to make her way over to where Cook is working, drop off some tools and begin another task.
Copy. We are going to have to back you out for a second, and then we'll be ready for the GCA.
Okay, copy that. Ready for motion.
Starting motion.
Copy. Motion.
So now we are reconfiguring to internal.
Copy.
And Christina, we are ready for your GCA for your next position for the MLI removal.
Okay, copy that. I think maybe as a starting point, we could try the low hover position. I don't know if that position has us backing away anymore, but it might be a good position in terms of the X value for the forward motion.
Okay, I'm going to fly to do the low hover if you're ready for motion.
Ready for motion.
First motion is down towards your feet.
Copy. And ready. Good motion.
Copy the motion. And now I'm going to pitch you up about 30 degrees.
Lucas, let's hold up on that if that's part of that that particular published position. I don't think I need to pitch. I will take, if we can go ahead and just start doing raw GCA, I'll take continued motion towards my feet, and we can say about 20 more centimeters for starters.
If you don't mind, Christina, I'm going to do that pitch, do another snapshot per procedure,
Okay.
then take your GCA.
Okay, that's perfect. No worries. Sounds good.
Starting motion.
Copy. Good motion.
Motion.
With those two bolts that were holding the insulation in place on the new battery charge discharge unit taken off, Christina Cook's getting some assistance from Luca Parmitano at the controls of the robotic arm, moving into a better position to continue removing that insulation. She'll also need to remove some Velcro and two straps that are on the underside of the hardware. And meanwhile, Jessica Meir is on her way to the external logistics carrier where Cook is working right now. View from her helmet camera as she is making her way hand over hand to that storage location so that she can drop off some tools and then, if there is enough time, start on an early get-ahead task to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
And Christina, I'm ready for your EVA, for your GCA.
Okay, copy that. Go ahead and do station 4, so in the direction of my feet, we'll start with 20 centimeters.
20 centimeters towards your feet.
Agreed. Good motion.
Copy the motion. And that's 20.
Okay. I'll start work here on this MLI, so we'll call that GCA complete for now.
Copy, GCA complete, the brakes coming on, and the brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on. Jessica, that was GCA complete. You need to come. Okay, copy. I'm headed back to you, and I've already retrieved my green hook. Copy that. I see your safety tether bounce and figured you were close by.
Jessica, one caution for the ELC. No big vigorous body motion once on the ELC, and when you translate on to the ELC, you can do so via the forward nadir CMG.
Copy.
View here from Christina's helmet camera as she's removed that insulation and is stuffing it in her one of her tool bags for storage. With that complete, she'll be able to move on to the next task, which is actually removing the new battery charge discharge unit. To that, she'll install some of the helmets that Jessica Meir is bringing over for her, loosen some bolts, or remove some bolts, and then she'll be able to pick it up.
And I have a great view of you, Nana. Copy that. No eyes on you yet. Oh, now I do. Hi, you're close. Sure am.
Jessica, when convenient, power
Timing
cycle.
is perfect because
Jessica, press your WVS power button.
copy.
Jessica, the crew lock bag can be stowed on the Nader CMG Fram handrail.
Copy that. I'm in there now, and it's in work.
Copy.
And Sina, I'm just going to put this one big hook down so that there's a lot of leeway for you to reach it. Okay. I was even going to suggest, since I'm almost done with this medium ORU bag, I wonder if it might benefit, since it will take quite a bit of GCA, I can tell, for me to get down to that bag. Maybe just do the handoff while you're here. Works for me. Stephanie, what do you think?
Jessica, Christina, we like your plan.
Copy. Will this be a few more minutes for stuffing in this MOI bag?
Good view here of both Christina Cook and Jessica Meir, both in the view from the robotic camera on the space station's robotic arm here. You can see Christina Cook at the kind of in the middle of the screen above Jessica Meir, who has made her way to the external logistics carrier that Christina Cook has been working at, and now that she's there, she'll be handing off a tool bag to Cook so that Cook can take out some handles that she picked up for her. Logistics carrier is used to store spares, and once she's dropped that off, Jessica Meir is going to be moving on to a get-ahead task, that is to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
WVS, we do have video, but it is a bit jumpy. So we would like a true power cycle if you would push the button once to take it off and then bring it back on for us.
Okay, copy that. In work. The power cycle is complete, Stephanie.
Thank you. That recovered it. And I'll take a glove inspection and a HAP check from you.
Okay, copy. For EV2, my HAP is dry. Looking at the glove, I have a few eraser marks. Other than that, looking nominal.
Copy dry HAP and copy your glove report. Thank you.
An hour and 45 minutes into today's spacewalk, Jessica Muir reporting that her gloves look good and there's no water in her helmet, so that's all good signs. While we wait for her to move on to the next task, we'll take another couple of Ask NASA questions. First one from Smithsonian's STEM in 30 show asking, did Christina and Jessica train for the specific task they're doing, or was the training more generic? And the answer on this one is that they did some generic training to prepare for this. We did not plan to do this spacewalk until we had some problems with the old battery charge discharge unit. So this was a bit of a spur of the moment spacewalk, but the crew members, all of the crew members on the space station train extensively to be able to perform these types of tasks that might pop up at any given time as repairs are needed on the space station. This one's pretty standard work, although they haven't specifically done this one before. We do have crew members who train for very specific tasks. For example, Andrew Morgan and Luca Parmitano are going to be doing some repairs to the alpha magnetic spectrometer on board the space station. And because that wasn't planned to be repaired in space, there are a lot of unique tasks associated with doing that spacewalk. So they trained extensively on the ground to be prepared to do that work.
Stephanie, while the team is checking on that, to have the MLI stuffed in the MLI bag.
Copy that. Nice work. Jessica, what we'd like you to do is take the medium ORU bag, take that with you to the MDM site, and then likely when you're complete with the MDM task, you can take the medium ORU back to the airlock. We think you'll have time to do all of that before you need to meet up with Christina for the BCDU removal.
Okay, copy that. So I'm going to take the MLI bag with me to do the MDM task, and then I'll just temp stow it or leave it on my beer. I'll probably temp stow it when I'm doing that task and then bring it to the airlock? Or did you say bring it to the airlock before the MDM task?
Jessica, we'd like you to take it with you en route to the MDM task, and yes, you can temp stow it there, but complete the MDM task first, and then if there's time, we'll have you go to the airlock to stow it in the airlock.
Okay, copy all. And I think we're ready for the badge swap if you guys want to lead us through that.
We're ready for the swap.
I think, Christina, if I leave it on my BRT, that'll give you the most copy. Stand by, let me get this tether off. Okay, and this is still routed to my BRT, Jessica. Okay, copy. And got to do a switcheroo there. I'll take the crew lock bag. Okay, you've got it. Push that down a little bit more. Yep. And work. And stand by before you release anything. I'm going to rep to the crew lock bag. Okay, copy.
Good view there of Christina Cook and Jessica Muir swapping basically tool bags that they've been using. Jessica Muir was using hers to pick up some handles and other equipment that were on the old batteries that had been planned to be swapped out.
Yeah, that sounds good. If you want to release that for me, that'll be perfect. When it zings back, I'll put it straight on this MLI bag.
She's handing those off to Cook, and Cook is handing her the bag holding the insulation that she just removed.
Perfect, thank you.
After this, Cook can begin removing the new battery charge discharge unit to get it on its way over to the P6 truss where it will be installed. And Mir is going to be working to disconnect an Ethernet cable on what they've called, you've heard him called the MDM, which is the multiplexer, a multiplexer, demultiplexer piece of equipment used basically to process data on the space station. She's going to be disconnecting an Ethernet cable and tying it down.
1 minute, 30 seconds. Night in 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Copy. Stephanie, I have the crew lock bag. I'm ready for steps. And Jessica, jump in if you need steps before you're on your way. I think I've got mine. So go ahead. Your marching orders. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Stephanie.
Christina, with the crew lock bag on your BRT, next would be the GCA to access H1 and H2.
Okay, and I have good access to those now, so no GCA required.
Everyone copies.
Copy. Tell us the serial number.
North. I see 0028.
Copy 0028, that's expected. Install 2 scoops, one on H1, one on H2, with the handles pointing station forward.
Copy.
Continuing with the questions that are coming in using the hashtag AskNASA, we have Miss Struckman's 5th grade class wanting to know how many people are in space right now. And there are currently 6 people living and working on the International Space Station. That includes, of course, our spacewalkers for today, Christina Cook and Jessica Meir, as well as NASA's Andrew Morgan, who's a flight engineer, European Space Agency, or ESA astronaut Luca Parmitano, who is commander of the space station right now, and then their Russian crewmates, Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka. We also have a question from Ashley, who says they've got 40 girls watching a live stream at Girls Academic Leadership Academy in Los Angeles. And they want to know, why were you counting how many times you unscrewed the bolt, and why are those details important? The crew members keep a careful count of how many turns they make of each bolt or screw on the space station, so that they know exactly how tight those are, and that they are tightened down to exactly what the engineers here on the ground recommend. And they keep track of those details, so that as we have future spacewalks, they know what to expect if they need to remove it in the future, or and also just to have the assurance that it did get exactly as tight as it was supposed to.
Jessica, for the Epic MDM, you're headed zenith on phase 1 of S0, and there is one caution: avoid inadvertent contact with deployed test cable and passive UMAs.
Okay, copy that, and I am on phase 1 now.
Copy.
And Stephanie, for V1, I have 2 scoops installed, handles pointing forward, and I have the ratchet wrench in my hand.
Copy. Brett to the H1 scoop, locking it out with slack.
Good work.
Christina Cook reporting that she's got those handles installed on the new battery charge discharge unit. Next step will be to, if needed, move into a better position with the robotic arm for releasing the bolts that are holding the new battery charge discharge unit down.
Before each attempt to brake torque with a ratchet wrench, confirm no motion of ELC1 or SSRMS, and react all loads through the scoop when braking torque on H1 and H2.
Copy all.
H1 and H2 are the two bolts that Christina Cook will be removing. Again, those are what's holding the old unit or the new unit down. I have two similar bolts on the old unit that we'll be removing once we get out to the P6 site.
H2, or do you need a GCA?
I do. I have good access. I have the ratchet wrench installed on the H1 scoop, tape line flush.
Copy tape line flush on H1, brake torque less than 1 turn.
Copy and work. Torque broken on H1, quarter turn.
Copy quarter turn H1. Confirm tape line flush on H2.
And work. Tape line flush on H2.
Copy on H2, brake torque less than 1 turn.
Broken on H2, quarter turn.
Copy quarter turn on H2. Can stow the ratchet wrench back in the crew lock bag. Once you have your PGT, I'll have settings for you.
And any other work out of the crew lock bag, is it a good time to just completely close it up and get it nice and stowed on my BRT?
I believe that's correct. Let me check.
Doing Jessica, doing well. I'm on phase 1. I'm just passing the hybrid CETA cut. Hey.
And Jessica, we copy as well. And Christina, that's affirmed. We are complete with the crew lock bag.
Could you please say again? We broke up a little bit there.
Copy that. Sorry. Yes, we are complete with the crew lock bag. You can button that up. And we also copied Jessica's location.
Cook confirming there that now that she's used the ratchet wrench to loosen those two bolts, she can put it away and get her toolbox kind of into a good storage order before she uses the pistol grip tool, which is similar to an electronic screwdriver that we'd use here on the ground, but sturdy enough for space. She'll use that to actually remove those bolts on the new battery charge discharge unit.
Crew lock bag is stowed.
Copy crew lock bag. Stowed on your BRT.
Affirm. Stephanie, I am ready for next step.
Yes, I will have PGT settings when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready for those settings.
Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Copy. And Stephanie, I have arrived at phase 1 at the MDM site. I'm going to work on a temp still. And I'm assuming I can just temp still this on phase 1 because we'll be picking it up later even if we don't bring it right now.
And Jessica, if there is a location starboard of the MDM, that's what we would suggest as a temp stow for the medium ORU bag. And things are working so well with efficiency and timing. Once you stow the medium ORU bag, we'll have you head back to P4 so that you can sync up with Christina.
Okay, so I won't do the MDM now?
And Jessica, that's correct. Based on the timing of the choreography, we will not have time for this task at this time.
Okay, copy that. Stephanie, I'm back with you. I have the PGT with settings Alpha 7, counter 2 set, and I am installed on the H1 scoop tape line flush.
Copy all. Good report. Release H1, about 7 turns.
Work.
Christina Cook getting started on actually removing those 2 bolts on the new battery charge discharge unit. And you also heard there Capcom Stephanie Wilson call up to Jessica Meir that because Cook is a little ahead of schedule on removing the new unit, they want Meir to go ahead and start heading out to the P4 Worksite where she will meet up with Cook, rather than doing that get-ahead task to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
All the way to 7 turns, status indicator is unlocked for H1. Same settings for H2. Thank you. Same settings for H2, Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Okay, those are set, and I'm installed on H2 tape line flush.
Copy tape line flush. Release H2, about 19 turns.
Work. And Stephanie, the MDM, or the medium ORU bag is stowed just starboard of the MDM at mile marker 7350 on the phase 1 handrail.
Copy phase 1 handrail, mile marker 7350.
That's correct. Okay, and I will start heading back to Christina.
Copy, thank you.
And I have released H2, 18 turns.
Copy, Christina, 18 turns on H2. Check status indicator unlock.
Status indicator is unlocked.
Copy, you can stow the PGT once your hands are free and then unlock the ret.
Christina Cook has both of those bolts released now, so she should be able to put away the pistol grip tool she used to unscrew them, and then be able to move to remove the...
Copy, also check your gauntlets in place. This is just prior to you having the box in your hand.
Remove that new battery charge discharge unit from where it's been stored here on the external logistics carrier.
You can remove the unit from soft dock.
We are removed from soft dock.
Copy. Once you are happy, you can work with Luca and give him a go to maneuver to the P4 setup position.
See that, Stephanie. Jessica, before I work with Luca, did you need to get any words in? I don't think so. I'm just headed back to you, and it's C106 handrail that I'm looking for, Stephanie.
Jessica, the location on P4 is handrail 5106.
We're now 2 hours and 4 minutes into today's spacewalk, and everything's moving quickly, going well for the two spacewalkers. In fact, Christina Cook's a little ahead of schedule, so Jessica Meir is skipping a get-ahead task so that she can sync up with Cook, where they will meet up on the P4 truss segment for the movement from there with the new battery charge discharge unit to its ultimate home on P6.
And my gauntlets are in place.
And we know that many people are still watching, and we're getting still lots of questions and well wishes from people at home and in schools. And we've got a few more here to share. This one from Andrew Kilgore, saying that one of the favorite pastimes for him and his daughters to watch the space station fly over, and that his daughter finds it inspiring not only to see it flying over, but that there are women up there on the space station performing a spacewalk today. We also have one from John Beatty showing a go girl, go girl, go girls go sign that his daughters have made. And finally, this one from Isabel, showing her 4.5-year-old daughter in her own flight suit there. Thanks so much for all the well wishes that everybody is sending in. Keep sending them in, and also keep sending in your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. We'll keep answering those throughout today's spacewalk.
The next is going to be a jawcast, setting it up.
Copy. Well, I guess we'll call that DCA complete for the manual maneuver.
And copy, and setting up for the jawcast, it will be from this position.
Copy. Nice little motion.
We are in position hold, Christina, so
okay.
you shouldn't feel any motion.
Okay, copy that. I think it was just the momentum of the bow. Okay, if you have time to look, there's a beautiful sunrise developing. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I am at 5106 right now. Oh, so I'm in position, watching the sunset. Place to be.
We copy, Jessica.
Jessica Mayer reporting that she is in place at the P4 truss where Christina will be moving with the new battery charge discharge unit. And as she mentioned, the space station will be coming into the daylight portion of this orbit in just a couple of minutes. She'll be able to watch the sunrise over the South Pacific Ocean.
Sunrise in 3 minutes.
Copy, Stephanie.
When things are quiet, we'll take a couple more Ask NASA questions. This one is coming from Mrs. Landry's 5th grade science class. And they're asking, since the space station is solar powered, what happens to the energy when you're on the dark side of the Earth? And the answer to that is one of the things that the battery charge discharge unit takes care of. It makes sure that while the solar arrays are getting full sunlight, it actually generates more power than the space station needs. So it stores that extra power and then makes sure that the power levels stay steady going from the solar arrays to the space station's system when it moves into the dark periods of the orbit around the Earth, so that just because they move into the dark, they don't have to turn off any of the science experiments. Getting this battery charge discharge unit back in order will help ensure that this power string on the space station can generate its full 12 to 15 kilowatts for the space station. Right now, it's with one of the 3 battery charge discharge unit sets down, they're getting about 4 or 5 kilowatts less than they like to see on that string. Again, in all, there's about 24 of these battery charge discharge units on the space station. This is the second one that they've replaced.
Christina, Jessica, just a heads up, we may experience RADICOM for the next 5 minutes.
Copy that. Thanks for the heads up. I've got a good view of you, Christina. I'm basically just port, of course, still active view. Okay. I'm assuming that this maneuver is going to bring you, okay, yeah, I see it. It's still bringing you port. Okay, copy. And if you can see where my green hook is just inboard of where I will end up. Yep, I can see your green hook. Perfect. It's 2 handrails away from me. But you're in just the right spot. Good call.
And Christina, we're ready for motion. This is going to be a 2.5-minute jawcast.
Copy. I'm ready for the 2.5-minute jawcast.
Starting motion.
Copy.
While Christina Cook begins her ride on the robotic arm over to the P4 truss segment, we're going to take a second to acknowledge that not only are we celebrating this historic first with 2 women performing a spacewalk at the International Space Station today, but we're also celebrating the many firsts that have come before it, and we're going to show you next one from astronaut Shannon Lucid. Having just seen that video, it's also a good time to mark that today is also the 30th anniversary of the launch of Atlantis on Space Shuttle Atlantis on the STS-34 mission, and Shannon Lucid was on board that space shuttle as it went to send the Galileo probe to Jupiter. Also on board was astronaut Ellen Baker.
Kind of be ready for your translation so that when we pop it in, you can just head out and we'll know that, you know, fins are out, you've got H1, all that. Yeah, so I think I'm going to be in either this or this orientation. Okay. So the way I have my BRT right now. Yep.
Great view here of both Christina Cook on the end of the robotic arm with the red stripes on the legs of her spacesuit, and just visible below her, Jessica Meir waiting at the P4 truss segment.
It's probably good because your BRT stays inboard, and so I can separate it. And I don't see any reason that we can't just carry that all the way outboard along the handrails. Okay? When we get to the PVR, you know, we may have to pivot a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. Hey, copy.
And Christina, you are in position hold. From this position, we can take a GCA for the handoff or whatever you tell me.
See that, and we had discussed Jessica would take this GCA, so Jessica, I'll let you take over. Okay, let's just think about how we're going to do this right now. Okay. So you have H2 in your hand, right? I have, that's correct, I'm ready to H2, yes. And begin us, so we haven't started, we'll say we haven't started GCA yet, so let's ask Stephanie. Stephanie, do we have it correct that I'll be handing H2 and that will be going into Jessica's BRT?
Checking. Christina and Jessica, either way will work.
Okay. I think that the one advantage of me handing you H1 is that you can do the rep swap. Not a huge deal either way. Right, and then we also need to think about fins being back. So when I hand it to you, I could pivot it like this, and then you could complete pivot to keep the fins away.
Christina, FYI. You structure it then where we are now.
Okay, copy that. Let's hold off just for a moment, but I think I like your idea of getting into that position before we make all our final plans. Yeah, I think we are going to need closer, and I'm also going to watch. I'm going to try to with a little spare lead to my safety tether here because I don't want that to end up in the fins. That's what I was thinking as well. So with your orientation, Jessica, I think this handoff position might be the best, where I actually have the fins facing forward. Okay. I've got a spare lead right now, so that my safety tether's out of your way. It's the spare lead right in front of me. I like how you have the fins right there. Yep. Okay. I wonder if we can actually get it directly on my BRT. That's what I'm hoping. Do you think a half meter, like Lucas said, will be too much in? Or should we go ahead and take that and then evaluate from that published? I think we should come in maybe 0.25 meters instead, and then we might need to come a little bit closer to me. Okay, copy. Yeah, Luca, let's take half of that distance that you said for published.
Copy. I'll put that in work and I'll let you know when I'm starting motion.
Okay, copy. And I can get your fair lead. Hold off on for now. It's just in front of me, so it should be fine. Copy.
Starting motion towards the station.
Copy. Ready. motion.
Copy, good motion. And that's your 25.
Okay, Luca, you can stop there. Okay, Christina, I probably can just come back to you.
Brakes are coming on.
Copy, brakes are coming on.
Brakes are on.
Copy, brakes on. Jessica, yep, I agree. At the same time, though, you know, if you've got a better handrail config in one spot, we do have to do safe capability, so you can evaluate that. But it looks like 5105 is also going to work. So if I get a little bit closer, do you think you can get the BRT on there? I think I could. I might actually say that a little more inward would help me achieve that. Maybe your BRT force me a little bit. I think by that I mean maybe even a little more GCA inboard. Okay, stand by. Copy. Take your time. I'm in a good spot. So we could come. I know it's really hard to look out from structure. And I actually have clearances now with the orientation I'm holding it in, if you'd like to move GCA in, because I know it's very hard to look out. Okay, yeah, I do have a good view, so I'll back you up, but you can go for it. Perfect. Okay, Luca, if you're still there, we are going to do a little bit of a just additional GCA.
Absolutely, I'm here for you guys.
All right. Turns out maybe another 20 would be best, so we'll take 20 more centimeters in the same direction we are going towards structure.
The brakes are coming off.
Copy.
Spacewalkers Christina Cook and Jessica Meir, they're negotiating how they'll do a swap here. Christina Cook has the new battery discharge unit in her hands, and it's moving towards the P4 truss segment where Jessica Meir is waiting. They'll go together from P4 to P6.
The brakes are on.
Copy, brakes on.
That is where the failed battery discharge unit is waiting to be removed, and they can swap it for this new one.
Handoff. And Stephanie, we are back with you.
Copy, Christina and Jessica. Nice work. So as you discussed, you would be performing a ret swap and placing the unit on Jessica's BRT.
Copy. She's on BRT now, and then I'll have her ret. So when you're ready, Jessica, want me to move it up? I think paddle's out. Paddle's not out. No, we're not on. I see that. I can get it closer to you. Would it be helpful to go ahead and do the ret swap now? Sure, you can do that. Bye. Okay, I've got my red on it. Stephanie, on the H2 scoop. Are we going to be able to get that BRT on there still? Yep.
Copy, Jessica. You have a ret on the H2 scoop, and you're working the BRT.
And I see my paddle out. The one on my side is out. I see mine out as well. We've got a good BRT. Okay, stand by. I'll remove my ret. Okay, and pull it, the box away from structure a little bit. Okay, the back. It's right up against structure right now. Oh, I see that on that corner? Yep. Okay. I have removed my ret, so now we are going to put it in a config on your BRT that you're comfortable with. Okay, yeah, we need to tighten everything up here. Okay, and I am still in control of it, so I can send it in a certain directions. Okay. If we can just maintain the position right now. Okay. Tightening this joint. Let me tighten. Okay. With this, I can get it back a little bit. Now, we don't really want it, I was thinking about like this so that it's a little bit behind me. Okay. And if you're ready, I'll go ahead and remove my hands from my scoop, and then you can put it in the direction that you'd like. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Have control of the unit. And we'll get perfect. I like that thin direction. That's great. I'm keeping. Okay. Selecting disk config, and in a perfect orientation for us to shepherd it outboard. So I think we are ready for kind of our next series of steps, Stephanie.
Copy, Christina.
We have Jessica holding. Oh.
Yes, so next week.
I've got all my joints. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes, next is SSRMS egress. So, Christina, if you need a GCA for that, you can work with Luca.
Okay, copy. And before we start that, if I'm just going to come straight in, which would be most efficient, Jessica, I would have you move outboard about 2 feet. Are you able to do that? Yep, I can do that, but just give me a minute to get my tethers here. Copy. And I can also run cleanup for you when I pass by if there's anything that you can't reach.
Continuing that careful negotiation of handing off the new battery charge discharge unit between Christina Cook and Jessica Meir. Cook has carried it over from the external logistics carrier where it had been stored, and she is going to hand it off to Jessica Meir so that she can then get out of the foot restraint on the end of the robotic arm and into place to carry that new unit over to the P6 truss where the old one is waiting to be replaced.
GCA to publish.
Thanks for coming up.
Copy.
Starting motion towards that structure.
Copy.
Copy the motion, and I'm going another 50 centimeters. You can stop me anytime.
Copy. And we'll take ramp out there. That's a good position.
See, ramping out. Okay, stop. Is GCA complete?
Copy. Yep. GCA complete.
GCA complete. The brakes are coming on.
Copy.
And the brakes are on.
Copy.
You'll go for AP5 egress.
Copy all. Jessica and Stephanie, the first thing I'm going to do is fairly Jessica's tether on 5104.
Christina, we copy?
And that I understand I am go for egress.
Christina, this is Luca, and yes, you are go for AP5 egress.
And work. Christina, I've got all the joints tight on my BRT, so it's definitely in a stable position, but with the mass of it, it is certainly still going to move around. So I think what we might need to do is have you close enough where you can reach that back scoop as necessary, or just like a corner of the box. Copy that. We'll do kind of like a hybrid birding. Yeah. Because even with all of the joints tight, you know, when I move, it's still got a little bit of play in there. I see that. Like we were talking about with the BRT the other day. Yep. I have egress to APFR.
Copy, Christina. Next is the safety tether swap off of the arm.
Okay, and I'll need the GCA to the next position for that.
Copy, and I'm ready for, I do have a published position if you want me to fly to that.
I would. That sounds great.
We're coming off.
Copy, and I can report ingress A this stowed. You're in a good config for motion.
Copy, and I can see it. Thank you. And Christina, for your situation awareness, is going to be 1.5 meters towards the structure.
Copy that.
Starting motion.
Good motion.
Copy, good motion. And Christina, can you confirm that you're clear of the arm?
I am clear of the arm.
Copy, thank you.
And Luke, I do see that the APFR is quite close still to the box. Do you guys have a view of that? No, I have clearance on that. It's okay. A good 2 feet. Okay. Thanks for your work.
And I'm ramping out.
Copy. That is a good position.
Copy, confirm that this is a final position for the GCA.
Confirmed.
And the brakes are coming on, GCA complete.
Copy. GCA complete. And brakes will be on.
The brakes are on. You can go for APFR removal.
Copy. Right, Stephanie, the brakes are on, so I am ready for step.
Copy. For the safety tether swap, ret to your green reel, then remove your green hook from P4 handrail. I believe you have it at 5103, and then stow the green hook on your red reel.
Copy. Green hook is on the red reel.
Copy. Check green hook closed and locked, and release the ret.
Green hook is closed and locked. Look it on the red.
Copy.
It is removed.
Copy. Retrieve yellow hook from SSRMS lee forward tether point. Stow it on your green reel.
Copy.
As you can see from this view, Christina Cook has gotten out of her foot restraint on the robotic arm and has been working on getting all of her safety tethers into a good configuration so that she can begin working here on the port side of the station's truss. She and Jessica Meir will be moving that new battery charge discharge unit into place on the P6 truss. They're currently on the P4 segment of the truss, which is a little closer to the center. So that P6 worksite is a little further away than the space station's robotic arm can reach. So Meir and Cook will be carrying the new unit the rest of the way by hand rather than getting that ride on the